Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we're going to be checking out the night slate tonight. It starts at 6 p.m. Eastern, and it features the three games of Colorado, Philly, LA Angels versus Tampa Bay, and Cleveland versus Boston. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? It helps the channel a lot. I really do appreciate it. So this slate does feature a pretty interesting situations. Uh, all three of these games have uh, eight or nine totals. The bigger total is the Cleveland Boston game, so to keep that in mind here. But we do like some pitchers on this slate, and we also dislike some pitchers on the slate. So let's go ahead and get into that. We do have one weather issue with the Colorado Philadelphia game. I do expect all three games to play normally, and I will operate as that is likely the case. But there's still some risk that Philly game could have a delay or even postponement. The good news is that that game's first, so we're going to know that by lock as well. So that's going to be good to know. With that said, let's get into our pitching first. So we have two pitchers that we like a lot, and then we have a couple others, a third one, excuse me, that is kind of contrarian, and then three that kind of So first we'll look at Reed Detmers. Now Detmers has started the season phenomenal. He's had 26 strikeouts in his first three games, 7-12, and 7 strikeouts in those games. And he's faced pretty good teams. He does face a decent team in Tampa Bay, though. Tampa Bay is not as crazy good as they were last year. So I do think that he's going to have a lot of upside in this game. He's playing well, and he has good fantasy potential to score over 30 fantasy points. If he gets enough strikeouts, he'll be a solid contributor in this game, and he's my favorite player on the slate for this particular small game slate. My second favorite is Sanchez for Philly. He's facing Colorado, who is definitely a team that you can go up against from a pitching perspective. This game is also in Philly, so that helps. Um, a 15 to 20 fantasy point game is most likely here. His K rate is sketchy, but he does have some potential today. Mostly just for a lack of other options, he's going to be there as a good option. Hoke is the other guy that has some potential today, though he is in a tough match with Cleveland. Cleveland doesn't strike out much, and while he has had some ups and downs so far this season, he does have a decent strikeout rate for this game. He and Sanchez are very similar from that perspective, though, so it's not a whole lot there. I think maybe a 15 to 20 fantasy point game is the most likely, but if he doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, then that would definitely hurt his upside. I think you have to use Detmers simply because of the strikeout situation. Then the other three guys in Little, Feltner, and Lively, all three of these guys have a lot of rough situations. Lively's got the worst situation, followed by Feltner. You could use Liddell as an extreme play against the Angels, who tend to not have a lot of bats outside of Trout. But the Angels has been hitting well okay so far in this series, so I think that there's some potential even for him just a little bit. Not a lot, but just a little bit. Excuse me, I didn't mean to click over there. With that said, let's get into our batters here. So at catcher, our top overall option is JT Realmuto for Philly. I think he's got to have a lot of opportunity in this game to be solid, though he is pricey. And while you can pay down at pitching some, with Sanchez after Detmers, you're going to have to pay down for a couple bats at least. Another option you could do is Bo Naylor, who actually looks really solid today for Cleveland. He has been inconsistent to start the year, but he does have home run upside, and he's definitely a good contrarian option off Realmuto. Uh, Hope is also a kind of contrarian option today. Looking at first base, Bryce Harper is going to be the overall top option, though he's very expensive and going to be somewhat hard to roster. His batting average has also been less than ideal, but he does have home run potential in this one. Josh Naylor looks like a great play on this slate. He's got really good upside and has a good fantasy potential on this one. His price is okay. And then for a value, another option is Casas for Boston, who had an absolutely monster game yesterday with a home run. In fact, he's had 3 home runs the last 4 games, and so I look for him as a good contrarian option at first base. There's not a lot that I like below that more expensive options though, so I think you want to pay down other positions. Looking at second base, Jimenez for Cleveland is one of my favorite plays, though he's not a home run threat here. He's got good hitting metrics and has some upside on this one. But I also like Valdez for Boston. I think if you want to stack Boston up, then Valdez, assuming he gets in the lineup, would be somebody I would consider on this one. as he has some good potential for some base hits. Uh, I will note that second base is pretty weak today. Late at third base, Isaac Paredes for Tampa Bay looks like my favorite play from this position. He's priced pretty fairly here, and that definitely gives him some upside. I think if he's probably the only guy on Tampa Bay that I really like here. So he's definitely going to be somebody that's interesting as a one-off option. Also, Rendon for the Angels. Now he hasn't been particularly great, but he does have some good hitting metrics here, and I think he's going to draw some fancy potential one way or the other. And so he's definitely a good alternative. He's also not too. He's also nice and cheap. Looking at shortstops, Trey Turner is going to be the top overall guy at this position. However, he's very expensive today, as he normally is, but he's going to have a lot of home run potential in this one. But there is a couple of value plays I like quite a bit. One being Ahmad Rosario. He could also fit in the outfield, so to keep that in mind. And like I said, not much about Tampa Bay that I like, but these couple of one-offs definitely okay. And then if he gets into the lineup, David Hamilton will be a good value play at just $2,600. He's been inconsistent to start the year, but if assuming he starts, he'll be somebody that I would consider looking at, especially at dirt cheap. He doesn't need to do a lot to pay off. Like in outfielders, our top overall options will be Duran, Kyle Schwarber, oopsie, Kyle Schwarber, Randy A, Mike Trout, and then Steven Kwan. All five of those guys have really good metrics for these games, and you kind of just want to pick and choose whichever team you stack. Go with the guy on the top end from that team. Obviously, Trout's going to be the hardest to roster to his price. Looking at the value plays, though, Yoshida looks really solid for Boston. He's priced pretty good. He's really struggled to start the season, but he does have home run potential. And once he gets going, he should be able to get some good batting in. I just hopefully he can get it together because he started off pretty rough. Then we'll look at Abreu for Boston as well. Wilmer Abreu at outfield. He's started okay fantasy wise. If we look at his fantasy stats the last couple games, he's really starting to come on. So I do like his potential here. He also has stolen base upside, which really gives us a boost, especially with him being dirt cheap, and that definitely makes him a viable option. Taylor Ward for the Angels, also very interesting. He's hit a lot of home runs to start the year. Him and Trout look like a really good stack together, and so I do think he's a viable play, especially being pretty decent priced. Ahmad Rosario, who I mentioned at shortstop, can also play here in outfield, and then Brandon Marsh for Philly. If you go with the Philly stack, he's definitely somebody I like quite a bit from that Philly perspective. An extreme Hail Mary play would be Referral from Boston. If he gets moved in the starting lineup, he has not done much yet to start the season, but he does have some potential here with a decent matchup. The sub $3,000 players are going to be Willie Abreu, David Hamilton, and then also Florial. If he draws the start here for Cleveland, he would be somebody I would consider as well, as he does have some pretty good metrics for this game. So with that said,